Hi Aries, welcome to your end of August 2019 General Tarot Update. It's Raina here. So Aries, I put up a video today. Actually, it's more of an audio. But it was about just a little discussion about Aries parents and Aries children. So check it out if that kind of thing interests you. It was a lot of fun to make. And so here is a tarot reading for the end of the month of August, which, gosh, as I record this, only has 10 more days in it. So that's pretty wild. And there's going to be a new moon actually on the 30th. And this is going to be at 6 degrees of Virgo. This is going to be in your 6th house of work. So we'll see if there'll be new beginnings in that area. We'll see if these cards are kind of work cards. Well, no, the first one. And it's funny because I was shuffling this a lot. And I got similar cards. I wonder if this is connected to Leo, because I was getting the Emperor, and that's connected to Aries and all kinds of stuff. I got those two cards. So, interesting. Okay. So the heart of the matter, if I can get this out here, is the Moon card, which is connected to the sign Pisces, but also the Moon rules the sign of Cancer, so I would include that as well. But the Moon, as a card itself, apart from the signs the sign it's connected to, has to do with sometimes deception, whether another person is doing it to you or you're doing it to yourself. It can be creativity, it can be addiction, not necessarily you. It could be somebody that you're dealing with that has an addiction or mental health issues. But, positively, it's creativity or intuition. Sometimes, though, it's that feeling that something is going on and you just can't figure out what it is. That you know that maybe somebody is lying to you and you're like, it's driving you crazy because you can't put your finger on it. In the past position, we have the Four of Cups. So you see that stone-faced individual and the person, when the clouds offering the cup, the clouds representing the universe, or it could be, in the form of a person that the universe has provided. But I would say just anybody offering you love and you're not interested, or you're just in a state of dissatisfaction. It could be, if you're an artist, that you are neglecting your craft, that you're trying to fit yourself in a world that doesn't belong to you, that is not a part of what you're about. If you're an artist, yes, of course there are artists who have, what we call straight jobs, and they don't make a living from their art. But you really, I think if you're that kind of a creative person, you have to be very careful about the type of work that you're doing, because you're very sensitive. You're probably an empathic person, and it does affect you. I mean, other people can deal with all kinds of crap in the workplace and just in their daily life. And people who are artistic and spiritual, because the Moon card could be like an empath, a very spiritually sensitive person. We don't fare too well in those types of environments. Sad to say, because they are going to be the norm. And so it can feel like very confusing and off-putting to have to deal with that aspect of yourself. If you're like this, it's funny because I almost forgot for a second that I was doing Aries, because I was thinking Aries, empathic, because usually Aries has this image of being very like brusque and insensitive and things like that. And I think that, that's not an unfair assessment, as in a general sense. But some of you, since you're interested in this type of thing, you may be different from that. Maybe you have some inner planets in Pisces. Maybe your moon sign is in Cancer, and you're just more attuned to this, the spiritual arts and artistic things, and you feel like the world can be very harsh, and that may just be like you're very sensitive right now. Maybe there's something specific to that based on your life at the moment. But the Four of Cups can indicate dissatisfaction in the recent past. So it doesn't have to be, I could even see, even though they depict it as the clouds, I could see you offering your love to somebody else and them kind of being indifferent, even if this is like a marriage or the equivalent, where all of a sudden this person has changed, and the Moon card could be, whoa, something is different. I know something is up, but you just don't know what it is. And by the way, you may have ignored this for quite a while. Aries is the kind of sign that tends to, be oblivious to these things until it's like staring them in the face. You're about the bigger picture, not the little details. And so it may have taken you a while to notice that if you're the one who feels emotionally rejected. If you're the one who feels emotionally flat towards a person, this could also be indicative of you knowing that they're up to something, because the Moon card means that something is being kept from you, perhaps. The higher message is the Hierophant, which is connected to, religion, but it's also connected to tradition and marriage. As a spiritual message, it could be like suggesting that if you are holding on to a relationship, that it's really due to conditioning that you have received in the past. That it's not really that you love the person necessarily, but that you just feel like this is what you have to do, that you have to stay in this relationship, this marriage. Also, the Hierophant is about conforming to the standards. And so, like I just said about people who are empathic, artistic, trying to fit yourself in a world that you don't belong in can be just what we do because we're trying to find our place, It can be very, very difficult to find that spiritual path as it relates to, for instance, your career goals, because it's just so commonplace to have that typical job where everybody is focused on what they're doing from a very fruitive consciousness, which means that they're just doing it to make money. They're not really putting their heart into it. And Aries people have to feel a sense of passion in life. I always say, like, if you don't, or something to this effect, you'll create drama if you don't have passion. If you don't fulfill yourself with passion, you'll substitute it with drama. And that's ugly, that isn't something that is good. But when you really go after things that are of interest to you, even as basic as that you really care about, the worst thing an Aries person can do is go through the motions. And that's what the Four of Cups is suggesting, that you're going through the motions of your life in some area of your life. Is it because you were raised in a way that told you you're supposed to do this or you're supposed to do that? And it could be, like I said, with marriage, but it could be like the kind of job that you're supposed to do. And, there are people who know that if they were doing a certain type of profession, their parents would totally, disown them or be really disappointed or whatever, the equivalent of that. And you know what? If you're willing to sacrifice your happiness to please other people, even close relatives, that's on you. But I don't think that's really the route to peace of mind. And again, with the Four of Cups, it's like this sense of like dissatisfaction, but there's just an emotional vacancy there. What crosses you is the Queen of Wands. This is a card that represents, especially the woman who is a career woman, but she's, can be like the working mother. But there's also this, as a career woman, there's a sense of just happy, joyful demeanor in this person. In the reversed or the challenge position, this could be a boss from hell, especially a female boss who is just very full of herself and hysterical, demanding, but egotistical. And maybe this is you, but if it's you, because this is a fire energy, if it is you, it's only because you're unhappy. It's like once you find yourself, you won't resort to that because you'll feel more in control of your life. This is kind of like the person who uses her authority to kind of try to make herself feel like she's in control, but she's really not. What's coming in is represented by the Three of Wands. This is a great card. I love this card. This is one of my favorite minor arcana cards because it really shows the person who's looking at, I don't know if you can see, there's mountains, who knows that there's something more, out of life, and is looking for that, is looking for a sense of expansion. The number 3 has to do with that. Actually, we're in a 3 universal year. In 2019 reduces to a 3. And I think there's a lot of that going around where people are saying, you know what, my life is worth something more than just survival. That's not enough for me. And I have to expand. And that might mean, in some cases, this can even be like an entrepreneurial thing where you're living in a faraway place and you're selling your product. But whatever it is, it's like a creative thing. The number 3 is very creative, but it's also expansive, and so that's right up Aries' alley, definitely. And if this is a relationship thing, same thing. It's like you can't be stifled in something that you may have fallen into just because of the influence of other people and other ideas. And the outcome is the Ace of Swords, and this is the best thing because it's great. So we start with the Moon and we end with the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is clarity of thought cutting through illusion, and the Moon, I don't think I said this, the Moon can be illusion. And being able to forge ahead because you have the clarity to know exactly what you need to do and what the situation is. You may have felt confused, or you may be like currently confused, but you're going to realize exactly what your next step needs to be. And that's the important thing, knowing what your next step needs to be. So I hope that you got something from this, Aries, and if you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.